Hey boys, welcome back to the Puck and Stuff podcast with my boy T-Dog over here. It's been a week since we've been on this podcast. We missed you guys, and I hope you missed us. We're back at it with some hockey news. Gotta respect the jerseys, and these ones as well. T-Dog, what we got on the market today?
On the market, well, apparently you're under Hockey Elite Prospects there. We have a goon that needs to be signed there for a Junior C team.
5 games played, 21 minutes, boys. Let's go. Yeah, I'm up there, boys. This is true elite. Elite form right here. Sign me to the Chell, boys.
Okay.
Nah, but other than jokes aside, man. Oh wait, this episode can be sponsored by a man can dream.
A man can dream. A man can dream that the Flames would get even more forward depth. Like I said in previous episodes, that we're kind of spoiled this offseason as Flames fans, and
We very much
we
so
really
are.
wanted even more forward depth. True Living says he wants more, but one of the players that we wanted is no longer going to be able to be picked up from the Flames because he's been picked up by the Colorado Avalanche. That's Evan Rodrigues. 1 year for $2 million for the year. And this, I hate this. I really do hate this because it's the Avs, and they, already they lost players with their depth. They still had a dominant team, but then they get Evan Rodrigues, and I hate it. I hate it.
I'm not gonna lie, Evan Rodrigues would have been a great addition to the Flames, especially for forward depth. He played 82 games last year, 19 goals, 24 assists, 43 points with a plus minus of 3. 40-point player would be nice to have on that bottom 9 for sure, bro.
Bottom 6 for sure, man. Well, it sucks. The Penguins are really gonna miss him. I think.
Oh yeah.
Avs are gonna get that extra 40 points, and you know what? Like the fact that
they don't need that
already. Their team has a top 9 that's already dominant, even without the likes of Kadri and Burakovsky. And now that Rodrigues can somewhat replace, I don't think you can. Of course, he's not replacing Kadri, and I don't think he can completely replace Burakovsky's numbers, but still, that's a great pickup, and it sucks for everyone else who has to play against the Avs again.
Literally. And you're kind of right. It's not obviously the Kadri replacement, but it's a pretty good asset to still have. 40-point player on Colorado that already has such a dominant offense, and then you still have Makar in the back. And it's just a dominant team all around. You lost Kemper this offseason, which is kind of lacking, but still great asset to add to forward depth for sure. And it's Colorado. I don't like this anymore than you do. So, yeah.
By talking about signings as well, there we'll just go to the St. Louis Blues, and they have re-signed Jordan Kyrou. 8 years, per $8.125 million AAV there. That begins in the 2023-2024 season. It's a signing that makes sense. I don't think it'll hurt as much when the cap goes up and stuff. People are a little bit worried just because Kyrou had a great start to the season and slacked off a bit at the end there. And although that was, something that's really noticeable to see, I don't see Kyrou having much problems. I really do think that even if he has maybe a struggle this season, I could see him bouncing back eventually and being pretty dominant for the Blues. I really do like this player, and I think that he's going to eventually be worth the $8 million, at least for a few years. The end years, you can never know, but I do think that you're going to have to pay that money to a player like that, right? Especially when, we got 30 goals just like that. It's impressive.
You know what? I totally agree. That is very impressive by Jordan Kyrou. We've been watching this guy since the juniors. And he was such an outstanding player in the juniors alone. And then he comes up to the NHL. He did play in the playoffs a little bit, so he did have the playoff experience. And this year, he played 74 games, and he put up 75 points with a plus-minus of 10. So he's still over a point-player game.
Yeah.
Yet, honestly, at his age, 24 center, that's really needed for St. Louis. So, honestly, great signing. And you honestly could see him bump up if he truly has a good year like he did last year. I personally think he didn't have a terrible year. Still a point player.
I think he had a great year. I think it's I don't know if he'll ever become like an underrated player, but ultimately it just to me shows that the Blues have always seem to have a lot of good luck or just good skill when it comes to their prospect pooling.
Oh yeah,
Just the amount of players that come up right in their prospect pool and can play on the team and be able to like stay consistent. Well, I guess Kyrou didn't really stay consistent this season, but be able to make a name for themselves in the NHL is pretty impressive. So let's just wait till when Jake Neighbors comes in and scores 70 this season.
Yeah, probably. But Jordan Kyrou is only 24. He's still a young, developing center for the team. And honestly, if he takes that next step next season, you could possibly see even an 80 to possibly a 90-point season if he extends his game even farther.
I really do think it's possible. Again, right, it might not happen this season, but I think eventually he'll have one of those seasons that, put him right on the map even more than what he already has been.
Exactly.
And I think that'll be highly, it's a player like this, I think this can be really highly sought out too, just because he's in these younger years and he has that much promise. And like you said, he has some of that experience and stuff. I think, of course, like the team he's on really does help because there is still that like leadership there, and a lot of them, of course, was on that cup team.
Yeah.
But as well too with a skillful team like that, so he's got some players that can complement him, and he can complement them as well. Ultimately, he's just a good fit for St. Louis, and I think it's going to work out in the end.
That's very valid, and I'm actually going to switch it up on to something else here quick. And speaking of promises, that Flames arena isn't looking any better, is it? So there has been reports from the Calgary Flames, Saddledome, that the roof is starting to crumble. Pieces of the concrete from the roof of the building are starting to fall. And taxes are going up and arenas aren't getting built. I gotta love it, right?
It's a lot. See,
it really is, man. It really is.
My favorite is everyone's like, all you need is some duct tape. It's like
duct tape. We need some Flex Seal.
Yeah, there you go.
Flex Seal on this boy.
Maybe that's gonna be the Calgary's jersey sponsor for the season instead of Scotiabank or whatever it's gonna be. It's gonna be Flex Seal.
Sponsored by Flex Seal. Hey, when did the arena turn black?
Okay, that could be like a Bettman's Petty way of saying, hey, get a new arena.
Please, we need a new arena so bad, because we made the TikTok video like a couple weeks ago bugging them about the dressing room.
Oh, because of Uyghur's thing.
Yeah, because of Uyghur going in the dressing room and everyone bugged the crap out of us for having that. And then you have this and it's just like, oh brother, how badly do we need an arena, man?
Well, all honesty, okay. My experience being at the Dome a lot the past few years, besides COVID, but now being able to have the freedom to do it and stuff, I don't have a bad experience with it in the sense of going and enjoying a game or a concert or whatever. I like the seats. Seats are definitely getting older in the higher and the higher bowls, but it's old and I like that atmosphere, and it just feels like an older barn. It doesn't feel like an old barn, but it still feels like more of a classic. Like, especially compare that to like just Rogers Place, that's all I can compare it to.
Yeah. And
I do like that. I prefer the concrete floor because it's an arena. Like, I don't know, who cares? Although, when you ever notice that, hey, when people spill like beer or popcorn or butter or something on the concrete, it gets so slippery. You ever notice that? Yeah.
Oh my god, it's brutal.
I almost looked up the stairs, man. And those stairs are like, that's when you know they're old, because the stairs are like so steep.
Oh my god.
And those stairs are the only way to get up to like the press levels, and there's some problems like that. Accessibility, I heard it's alright, but like I think it could be better. And that's definitely something you'll have to, of course, add in with the new arena. One problem is definitely the concourse. I'd say it is pretty tight. That there's a lot of people when you're at the concourse.
That is true.
And the bathrooms for sure. That's always been my number one thing. It's just I don't like it when you gotta go and like you're literally standing right next to the other guy, right? And he's right. Like it's just I don't know. We want a little more privacy there, a little bit, man. It's like if you've been there, you know what I mean. But if you have it, you're literally like. You're shaking hands with the guy, man. That's what's happening.
Yes, it is a problem still.
But you're at the point you still miss. Right? So at the end of the day, That's the problem. Then you have like a splash damage.
Hey,
right? That's the things you got to think about in the new arena. Like you got to worry about splash damage.
Hey, Gretzky once said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's true, right? So.
But hey, I gotta say with the Saddledome though, it's iconic. You got tons of history behind it, but it's starting to sound like a safety issue to the extent of that is a little bit concerning to hear from a arena. Like in general,
definitely. I hope it's like it could be blown out of proportion, but at the same time too, right? Like if there's problems, they might hide that stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. If you're like a business owner running something, but of course, like you don't want unfortunate things to happen, but I just saw today they put netting around the concrete, like like the edge of the concrete or wherever that it's like cracking and falling off and stuff, and they have like nets. As if it's like a mountain, right? Like you're driving.
That is concerning more than it should be.
Like now you're figuring it out as soon as you get public press, right? Like that's something they got to figure something out for sure because that's not. I think too, right? It's just like the way they designed it, and I don't know like the way like the engineers have designed it so that it would stay structurally intact. But the older it gets, right, I don't think the dome shape definitely can completely
hold it,
stay, right? So then again, that's the biggest problem. I bet you if you literally, that'd take a lot of money, but if you fix it up so that the roof was more structurally stable and more like how I'm guessing up to like normal building standards, I don't think there'd be a problem. I think you could have your concerts and everything. You'd have to completely fix the dome though. Like at that point, you just get a new arena, right? Like,
yeah,
it makes no sense trying to fix it.
It's either renovate it at that point or just invest in a whole new arena, and that's what we're kind of hoping the Flames do here soon, or sooner rather than later.
It's crazy.
Damn, we had an arena deal and everything, and then it just got torn apart.
Well, it's crazy too how we're the oldest arena in the NHL. I know MSG is supposed to be number one, but MSG has been updated, and it's the building is you're able to. I've like seen interior pictures of it recently because everyone's going to Harry Styles concerts nowadays apparently, and it's like, yeah, it looks new. Like it looks like the arena was just built 10 years ago, right? So that's something.
They got the money to do that, apparently.
Oh, they'd probably get subsidies up the yin yang, right? Because MSG probably racks in so much for all those all those entertainment stuff. But yeah, Calgary ultimately just needs it. Like this, like I don't want to lose the dome because it's very much like in memory, but it's just massless memory, right? Like you just do it, like. You're already building on the Stampede grounds, getting the BMO Center revamped and all that good stuff, and just trying to make it so that Stampede has this experience. But second none to the Stampede, like, if you're going to Calgary, you're probably there for some relation to sports or anything of entertainment. So get the darn dome going, right? Because not everyone wants to go up 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever and go watch in Edmonton, right? They want it close to home.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, I think people are honestly, like, you're already upping the prices of beer anyway, so like might as well just rip off the Band-Aid at the new arena, right? Like,
you know what though? Like that just kind of, you just said that perfectly, honestly, because Calgary is kind of it's a sports city. Calgary is 100% a sports city, and how iconic and how much nostalgia you get from the dome alone is just amazing. It's a memory, and I'm legit thinking of getting a tattoo on that of the Saddledome on my arm someday, but. It's nostalgia, but eventually you do have to move on to better things, and arena might be the biggest step this team has to take next.
No, for sure.
If you win a cup this year, maybe you'll get it finally.
Yeah.
Knock on wood for that,
The only time Bettman would let us actually do it, eh? That or we'll do something.
A man can dream.
A man can dream. Well, anyways, something that isn't crumbling is the Ottawa Senators organization.
Hey!
And speaking of Ottawa, great offseason, by the way, and they get another addition, which I would agree that even makes it even a better offseason. Tyler Mott signs with the Senators, 1 year, worth $1.35 million. So that helps with the penalty kill. And all I'm saying is that I really believe, in all honesty, that Ottawa's probably had the best offseason this season.
They're up there.
I really do think like it's better than Calgary's. I do think it is. They completely revamped that team. They got DeBrincat next to nothing, and now Mott is just great for depth. And I really thought that he had honest impact with New York. Like I think that New York was a better team with Mott. I'm not saying that Mott like was Panarin-esque or Fox-esque. Boo.
Boo.
They weren't that caliber, of course, but it's great that he's to a team that man, I'm excited to see. I'm gonna watch some Sens games. I'm gonna go out of my way to watch Senators games this season because I want to see what this team does. I really do.
I think you're like the first man in Alberta to ever say that. Come out of their mouth.
100%.
Oh my god. But yeah, I kind of see what you mean with Ottawa in this scenario. Better than Calgary, that's really tough to take because of how crazy and how much improvement the Flames made as a contender already and then doing that next step. But I gotta admit, I see why you say Ottawa because from being like a team that was kind of going through a rebuild and they were in a little bit of mediocre for like you say the last year or two, and then they take this next stride, make the big moves, and completely change it to possibly a contender. Do I see them as a contender this year? I'm on the fence about it. It's really hard because I haven't seen this team play, but yes, Tyler Mott is a big contender or a big depth piece as well. 58 games for 15 points. And honestly, it's a great upgrade. It's a great upgrade. But.
I was just gonna say because I'm looking at Cap Friendly here. They still got 5.6, almost 5.7 million left in projected cap for this.
They might save that to sign their young players.
Something even else, and of course, like they saving it for Derek Brassard revenge tour and Michael Del Cole revenge.
Oh my
tour.
God, yeah.
So Shane Pinto's on the IR, right? So he's also on there because as a center. So hopefully he can come back. But without Shane Pinto, this is the roster right now in the sense of just the forwards that they have. Brady Tkachuk. Oh my goodness, did I say that? Brady Tkachuk, Josh Norris, Claude Giroux, Alex DeBrincat, Drake Batherson, Matthew Joseph, Austin Watson, Tyler Mott, Dylan Gambrell, Jimmy Stu, Tim Stutzla, Parker Kelly, Jace Harlick, and Alex Fermenton. Now, with just the forward group alone, I think, and look at the age. 23, 23, 34, 24, 24, 25, 30, 27, 26, 20, 23, 26, 23. Like, that's just such a young group, right? And
wow, that has to be one of the youngest groups
you
in
can
the
already
NHL.
see, like, Giroux being... Is he the oldest? No, he's not. Nick Holden's the oldest on this team.
How old is Nick Holden?
35, and Talbot's 35. There's not many who are even in their 30s. Like, who else is in their 30s? Hamannik's 32, Nikita Zaitsev's 30.
I forget, what's our goaling situation going?
Talbot and Anton Forsberg. So, okay. Talbot stays healthy and can play Minnesota, like he did in Minnesota. I don't think this team has much of a problem in the sense of getting wins. Now, in all honesty, too, I think people are going to put them more into playoff category if they're in a different division, because
that is facts,
crazy,
actually.
But
the division they're in is like the toughest division out of
this
all of hockey
team,
right now.
Is it almost like a Lightning or what the Red Wings are trying to do, where it's like get a bunch of young players, right? And the more experience they get, the better the team gets. You know what I mean? Like, in some sense, I don't think.
Detroit.
I just like how Dorian has honestly, and I always wanted Dorian fired. I'll be honest, but I think what he's done it's impressive, man. I mean, because all these young players, like, I don't see half these players even like priming till they're 25, 26. So give them like 3 seasons, then these Sens are gonna be. I think they're gonna absolutely dominate the end of the decade. So it's exciting for them for sure.
Actually, you know what? I'll make a prediction with Ottawa. I wouldn't say playoffs this year. I would say playoffs next year.
It's hard, right?
Yeah, it really is.
I would love to see it, man. I think it would be great.
I would too.
I think that good for the Sens. They deserve this after what's happened since 2017. Like, it's just such a nice breath of fresh air. Like, I feel like they can breathe now, you know? So.
Hey, what else do we got for news today?
Yeah, so I was going to say, too, because I was thinking about one other team, too, when I talk about Ottawa. And it's the Kings. Because to me, the Kings and the Sens are in a similar boat. You know, they got some young provinces, and I feel like the more they play, the better they're going to get. And so they signed some of these young players, even with kind of the cap circle that they have. And that is in Sean Durzi and Mikey Anderson. I'll quickly go through Mikey Anderson first. Mikey Anderson just got the 1-year, $1 million deal, and Sean Durzi got the 2-year, $1.7 million per AAV there. Now, watching Jersey in the playoffs, that's going to be a freaking steal. And the fact that they got both of these young guys on really healthy, friendly deals, too. I mean, they weren't going to get, a crazy amount of money, but it's just, LA is definitely got some promise, and I really do think they could scare the Pacific Division a little bit still. I really do think so.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat with you with LA here. I personally think, actually, I'll ask you this first before we continue. Would you think right now in the positions both teams are, do you actually see LA as the stronger team going for a playoff push, or do you see Ottawa right now?
Good point. Now, here's the thing. I feel like the Kings are more of a similar team from the year prior, so I think that chemistry could be there. Ottawa having new players, there's always that thing in the back of your mind where you're like, okay, well, a lot of newcomers, do they fit in the core? Do they fit with the culture? Do they fit with the structure of the team? I think ultimately, just because of division wise too, and I do think LA probably just because of that and last year.
Yeah, fair.
But the Sens definitely have the possibility they could just get a good storyline going, and we're all gonna be celebrating it because
the underdog story. Exactly, that would be
right?
sick.
But let's quickly look at their forward group themselves. So I guess we'll have to talk about Jersey too, or the defense, because Jersey's a defenseman, of course. But Kopitar, right? And I think he's still as much as he's older, but he still is one of the best two ways. I mean, he's a center, but I love Kopitar, man. Like, he's deserved that $10 million for so long, and his contract ends in 2023-2024. Kevin Fiala, right? That was great. You got the trade there. Philip Deneau. Deneau, man, I think the Habs definitely miss him. Victor Arvidsson, Adrian Kempe, Alex Iafallo, Trevor Moore, Blake Lizotte, Brendan Lemieux, Carl Grundstrom, Quentin Byfield, by the way, was really much due for a breakout. I could see either him or Lafreniere having like a breakout season.
I think Byfield also had to deal with injuries. For
100%, right? That's very true. So
he could have a really 100%. Good breakout season with LA if he stays healthy.
Both him and, I think, is it Kaliev that has injury problems? Gabe Velarde and Elias Anderson. Again, young players, only a few that are in the 30s. Let's see how many there are. Kopitar is one. Edler's one, and Quick is one. So there's only three. Their defense, Matt Roy, Sean Dursey, Michael Anderson, Tobias Bjornfoot, Alex Edler, and Jacob Moverer. Which, because that would make sense because Doughty's on IR. That's why he's up there. And then, of course, the goalie tandem, which I love, Kyle Peterson and John Quick. So this team, honestly, is... I think they could honestly make a bit of a splash.
They really could. And that's why I also think that LA could be a better team right now than the Senators. Because, if you look at it on paper, like you just said, I think LA beats them in the offensive system just because of combination and chemistry. I think they just push them beating by defense, not by much, but if you look at depth wise with LA, I think it beats it, even though Ottawa still has Thomas Chabot, and Drew Doughty is a little bit overrated nowadays, I'm not gonna lie. And I think LA also has the better goalie tandem with Quick and Peterson. 100%. Sure. Because nothing against Cam Talbot. He'll always have a nice spot in my heart.
Yeah, I'm saying here.
Love the man. But Jonathan Quick, veteran goaltender, and then you got the young guy, Peterson, that's right behind him, learning from Jonathan Quick, 2-time Stanley Cup champion. So that's kind of hard to beat. So LA is overall the better team. But going on to the Sean Dursey talk, 23-year-old defenseman. He played 64 games, put up 27 points, 24 assists, 3 goals, and a plus-minus of -9. So, excuse me. Sean Dursey, young player, talented, showing some potential for his first NHL year, and possibly could turn into something really big for LA. They've been needing a big defensive piece that's kind of moving away from Drew Doughty, looking towards their future. Maybe Sean Dursey could be the leading force in that. And a lot of potential here. A lot of potential from 100%. This player.
Dursey was the one that he kind of gave McDavid a little bit of problems a few times in that playoff series. He kept up with him. That was impressive. So
very impressive.
Something to think about. Something to see, right? I mean, Dursey's 23, so see how he turns into. But I guess off the talk and signings, let's talk about some captains and stuff here. We got two things on it.
Two captains.
Well, two things related to captains, but Nick Suzuki. So the Habs finally announced, this was smart. They announced Nick Suzuki as captain while also announcing their hideous RBC logo sponsor on the jersey.
Oh, bro.
And it was actually genius because the way they did it was like, look, Nick Suzuki's captain. Oh, by the way, here's our here's our logo sponsor.
Here's our
jersey sponsor. And you just see the picture, and I'm like, this blue is so out of touch. And I agree with the people on this. They say that original 6 teams should not have logos on their or have sponsors on their jerseys, and I agree with that.
Why is that?
I just feel like it's an OG6, and it's disrespectful. I just think it disrespects the jersey. They're going to give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Before you know it, and I know it's a whole joke, they're going to have more advertisements. Like, they're going to probably have one on the shoulder. They'll probably have one at the bottom. Like, they'll slowly but surely get on the pants, and then we'll be Sweden. And then we'll be the Swedish Elite League, and then that's fine.
Sponsors all over the jersey.
That's fine, actually, because if that means we get to see more, like, Swedish snipes, I'll take it. But, like, I don't know. Anyways, off of the sponsorships and stuff. Suzuki being captain, there's a lot of talk that Gallagher deserves it, and I can see why. But maybe Gallagher didn't want to be. I haven't seen much on it, but Suzuki being captain is a breath of fresh air, and him being very young too, right? So we'll see what his leadership can do and take with this new Habs team, especially with Sean Monahan. So
Sean, I kind of keep forgetting Sean Monahan's on this team now.
I know,
I'm not gonna
too,
lie,
man.
but I kind of see where you're coming from. Brendan Gallagher not becoming the captain was a very shock for me as well. I thought he deserved it. Maybe you just didn't want it. Who knows? But honestly, I kind of see why they chose Nick Suzuki here from Montreal, because you look at your bright future that Montreal is going to be having here with Cole Caulfield. You have Nick Suzuki himself. And then you have your bright spot, Shalkovsky, that you just drafted. And you have a bright spot, and honestly, what better person to honestly put the C on for your bright future and lead the team, man?
It does seem like he really does enjoy the team and the fan base. Like, always seems smiling. Him and Caulfield are very much like that. And it's nice seeing like a little bit of hope for the Habs too, right? So it's cool to kind of see this transformation from Price Pacioretty era to this. So, and or I guess the Weber now, right? Like Weber era to like this. So
did you hear
new day, new era? Much excited.
Did you hear that there might be there's been talks of Carey Price not returning?
Yeah, that's one thing to think about too, right? Like it's that, like on the IR right now, Price is on there, Monahan's on there, Drouin's on there, Paul Byron. Poor Price.
Poor Price, man.
Dude, I just
one of the best goalies of all time. That
no cup.
No cup.
He deserves the Hall of Fame though. He just does. He's just too good, man. He was so like.
He really is one of the best.
He was too good on teams that were too mediocre.
That is fact.
I don't know. Not all of them were mediocre, but...
What? Maybe, like, what would you say was, like, the best team of Montreal with him on it? Like when Subban was there?
What's crazy is I don't even think you can even say their playoff run, their cup run in 2020.
I feel so bad for them, man.
That sucks, man. It's one of those... It's sadder than Iggy, right?
Oh, just as sad. Same with... Even Monty is still sad to hear, man.
It is sad, man.
All right. Who was the other captain?
Well, no longer a captain.
Oh, I mean, Blake, who was the other no longer captain?
So Blake Wheeler is no longer captain of the Winnipeg Jets. That kind of sparked a lot of talk today. There was reports of locker room problems. I think I remember because I think Scheifele had some stuff to like mention that, and I think that kind of caused something. Now, I think it was a corporate or staff decision. I don't think he stepped down, but I saw his interview saying he was like, "Well, I don't deserve it." Like, he was saying how, back in the younger years of my career, like I definitely something that I wanted to strive for, but now I don't think it matters. But I could see a little bit of disappointment. I just hope they did it respectfully and didn't pull a Vegas.
I mean, I would think they give some sympathy for him. He was captain there for a couple of years, and I I'm very curious who they might just pull no captain for this season then, won't they?
No, like for the full season, I think they're not gonna have any captains. Just run a bunch of alternates.
So now the real question is, who is possibility of captain for next season?
They're all gonna be traded by the time that happens, eh?
When they go into the rebuild.
But Wheeler most likely, I mean, probably ask for a trade at the end of the season or during trade deadline.
Can we
That's
get
what I
Connor Hellebuyck as captain in the Chap Boys?
Yes. Oh yes, let's do that, please. Can we actually? Just like I'm thinking about like the time when Bobby Lou was captain. The goalie's a captain. It's funny, man.
That was actually one of the
Dude,
funniest
what's
things
happening with Winnipeg though?
I don't know. We keep talking about Winnipeg on this podcast, and they're just.
I remember Kelly. I remember this. The start of the season last year, and Kelly Reid was talking about how much he has so much, excitement for the Jets. Thought they were going to be the best Canadian team, and I didn't believe that they would be the best Canadian team, but I could see why like he had promise or thought that they had promise. I really thought that on paper and on ice too that they were somewhat underrated, a little bit, not underdogs, but I don't know what's happening with the team. It's odd. I just don't want them to screw it up because it's like them being like relocated simply because of Atlanta. Like I feel like Winnipeg, they're just here to stay, but I don't know.
It's a lot of questions.
Someone's gonna be on the hot seat.
Yeah, 100%, especially in management or coaching wise. But hey, you know what? With Winnipeg, we've mentioned Winnipeg and its problems quite a few times lately on this podcast, and the talk keeps going on. It just keeps going on. More problems with this team.
Something good comes out, man. That or Hellebuyck gets traded to an actual cup contender. Okay, Hellebuyck deserves it.
But how I look at Winnipeg. I don't think their 2018 run was a fluke. I really don't. You had
me neither.
A dominating offense with Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler leading the charge. Your defense was ran by Dustin Byfuglien and Jacob Trouba, which
Laine had a good season.
Laine had a really great season as well. I forgot he was with them too. And then you had Connor Hellebuyck that had probably one of the best career season he had. And you got beat by Vegas. That was a tough game. It was a great series. And honestly, it could have been either one that came on top. But yeah, you took apart the defense. You took apart the offense. And now you're in a situation where you either go full rebuild with this or just retool. And we've been saying that a lot. I have, at least.
Definitely a retool, I think. But it definitely started with Byfuglien leaving.
Yeah.
I can't remember if that was through injury or not, but that was the first one.
Problem,
or family, yeah, something like that. That was the first thing, and then it's just kind of gone downhill. So I think Winnipeg would be one of those teams where it's like, maybe check the European market for a coach. I think you do that, and you might get lucky, right? And I think that might help out.
You might actually.
There's a lot of talk, right? Like, they always get coaches to the North American sphere and spectrum, but like these European like heads or minds of hockey are pretty good, and they deserve to get a little bit of shine in the NHL there too, right? Like, I just hope that Winnipeg can kind of get out of the slump a little bit, and you never know, right? Maybe they have a better season, but dude, I'm sorry, Rick Bowness being head coach, his style to me is not gonna work.
No,
but it could.
It could, but probably not. To be honest,
they do have $4.6 million in cap space right now. Who's on their IR here?
You know who would have truly saved them?
No one.
Barry Trotz.
Yeah.
I low-key wanted Barry Trotz to go to Winnipeg so bad when I heard those talks, man. I was like kind of praying like, Winnipeg, please do good. You're like the one other Canadian team that I don't despise, actually.
You know what? I'll give them credit though. If Nick Ehlers has a bounce back season, Kyle Connor stays as Kyle Connor, Scheifele has a better season,
Blake Wheeler better season.
I can see the forward grouping. They just need to score more, right? Dubois actually tries, then you know what? Then they might not have the worst problem scoring or having offensive power. Their defense, you know what? Like, I love some of these players. Like, I love Neil Pionk. I love that, right? And he's worth the 5.8. Schmidt and Morrissey, not bad, but then it goes downhill a little bit. I just think like
it could look a lot better.
I don't mind Stanley. I don't know. It's hard, right? I mean, we'll see. Hellebuck deserves.
You know what, though? I think the biggest factor with Winnipeg going into this next season is I think it's actually the weight on Connor Hellebuck's shoulders right now. Most of it actually is because he didn't have the greatest season last year, and the team obviously kind of downfalled because of that as well. And I'm not trying to blame Hellebuck just because he had the bad season. All around, the Winnipeg didn't look great, but now there's a lot of more pressure on him, especially coming into this next season. If he pulls off what he can, if he pulls off the kind of Hellebuck we usually know, Winnipeg might be able to slide in somewhere. But it's really rough for Winnipeg if something doesn't turn around this season.
Yeah, I think hopefully get a good start and go from there. I think they just got to win a few games. Just start winning your games early. And then just take it as a B and then go from there. I think that's what they got to do. I just want to quickly mention one thing. We had a player retire, Nathan Gerbe. And you know what? Congrats on him for a career. And the reason why is because, okay, I like as a dude who's a smaller stature, I just have much respect for it. That's why I think Johnny Hockey's such a that's why I liked him so much, is because of that. But Nathan Gerbe, right, was only 5'4", and he played in the NHL. It's impressive, right?
That is actually
that is
impressive.
Very impressive. Throughout his NHL his career, he played 435 games, 151 points, 63 goals, 88 assists. Not bad at all, right? Like, it's awesome. And
who did he play with?
So he started out with the Buffalo Sabres. So he started in the 08-09 season, got 1 assist, and then played for the affiliate, Portland Pirates, I guess is what it was back then. Then played with the Sabres from 2009. Then played in the split the Sabres till 2012-2013. Then he was traded to the Hurricanes. And then I was also watching a Hockey Guy video, shout out to him again, but he was saying that he was actually traded to the Rangers, but never played a game.
Really?
So I guess that's why I'm not on here. So he went to the Swiss League, and then came back, played with the Jackets, and then played with their AHL for a little bit, and then came back with the Jackets 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021, and then finished it off with the Cleveland Monsters again.
Huh.
So,
I mean, pretty good career.
I think it's a good career. I just think, hey, man, it's a story. It's one of those things where it's like, just don't let physical limitations just let you down. Just keep going, you know? I think it's a good, inspiring story. I hope if he reads a book, I'll actually read it. You know what I mean? I think it's just inspiring to me, you know? Just yeah. Because I bet there's a lot, like, I mean, Johnny Hockey, like, he says a lot in interviews, like, or where he's like, yeah, people, you know, always tell him, like, I couldn't make it, right, because my size and stuff, right? But he still made it, so. I always like those stories, right? So good for him. Congrats on it. Hopefully you can take some good money, get some, do some good investing, and you know, have a good retirement season.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, guys, I think that's wrapping up this episode of Puck and Stuff Hockey News for you today. If you guys did enjoy this episode, I would much request if you guys leave a like, leave a comment what you want to see from the next episode, and please subscribe. That would be much appreciated. T-Dog, I'll wrap it up for you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again so much for listening, watching, whatever you're doing. If you like this, like he said, thumbs up, leave a comment. What do you guys think about what we talked about? Were we wrong? Were we right? And also, I guess I got a question for you there. Are you guys excited? Because, I mean, sports season is getting pretty close now. I mean,
football's
NFL's
back.
On.
Hockey's in a month.
Hockey soon. NBA soon. The World Cup's here. World Series.
MLB playoffs.
There's a lot. So
it's getting
let
exciting.
me know how excited you guys are. And hey, keep on showering in the free world, and we'll see you guys later.
Peace.